Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever installment of Brian's Breakdown, where I drink a beer, we have a chat, and we all learn something. Yes, I'm excited. Hopefully, I can do this on a consistent basis, and so this can become more of a regular thing and gives me an opportunity. Usually I only jump on here and do a longer video and discuss a whole wide range of topics, but I think what would be interesting is if we focus on one specific thing and dive into that thing, and I'm going to call that Brian's Breakdown. Okay? So, the first topic we're going to discuss on today's episode: anger and how to heal from it, or how to heal it. So, the idea here is we're just going to have a chat. None of this is scripted, none of this is thought about. It's all going to come from the heart, as everything that I say always does. And so whatever direction we end up going in is where we're supposed to be. Okay? So, anger. What is anger? Anger is a feeling. Anger is an expression. Anger is something that we do when we're upset. Or when we have kind of lost control. I'm pretty sure there's probably not a single person alive that hasn't experienced anger. Okay? So it's something we can all relate to as well. So what I've learned in my experience is the way that we heal from something is we have to first understand how it was caused. Because if you're left oblivious to the cause of it, then it could potentially keep happening, or could be happening right now, right? Once we understand the cause of something, then we can essentially move on from that thing. No longer allow it to be a cause and have an effect. So there's not one specific answer as to where each and every one of our individual feelings of anger come from. They all come from our own history, from our own past, from our own experiences, and each one of those for each of us is different. So there's not really one answer to say this is why people are angry and this is how we fix it. But what we can do is look at it. Each of us can look at it from our own perspective and from with our own hearts and our own minds, and kind of come up with those answers for ourselves. Anger kills people. And not because I'm saying angry people kill people. I'm saying literally the emotion and the feeling and the things that come along and go along with that, with anger, wreak havoc on the body. It's a form of stress. And any type of stress is going to wreak havoc on the body. It causes your cells to become out of whack and start going crazy. And your body stops operating in the way that it's supposed to, and it goes into like almost that survival mode, which we really don't want to be in that survival mode. That's full of a lot of adrenaline and a lot of reaction versus processing and looking at something with more of a clear mind. And so that's where people make very bad decisions when they're angry, because they're not thinking clearly. Okay? So in my mind, there's no room for anger to be present within myself, because I know it's only going to cause problems. It's only going to hurt me and the people around me. Okay? So if I know I don't want something to be present within my life, I need to do something about it. I need to heal it, heal from it, and move on from it. Okay? I'll just share a little bit of my kind of my story, and so we can all understand, a bit from my perspective. But like I said, we all have our own stories, right? We all have our own experiences. And for me, anger has always been a subject in my life, because from the time when I was very young, I saw it all around me all the time. My father was a very angry person. Very, very, very short-tempered. And, he let the anger get the best of him. Okay? I remember many times as a kid running into my room, going into my bed, and just waiting and hoping that the yelling and the screaming would stop at some point. For whatever he was angry about that day or at that moment. I'm not going to get too deep into all the other details of all these things, but you can understand what I'm talking about here, is that it's always been something that's present, okay? And I remember being young and just thinking, I never want to be like that. I don't want to ever have to put someone in a position like I was as a kid, to feel like they need to run away and find safety because of the way someone's reacting, the way I'm reacting, right? I don't want to be that person. I want people to feel comfortable and safe around me. But as we all know, kind of the environment you're raised in, and especially your parents, because they're your first and your biggest role models, right? Or supposed to be, is a lot of times people take on the traits and the habits of their parents, because it's what they know. And so anyone that's grown up in an abusive family with an abusive parents, or parents that maybe are in and out of prison, or parents that do drugs or things like that, the child is more likely than not, I shouldn't say more likely than not, more likely than someone who isn't, to pick up on those same things, because it's what they're exposed to from such a young age. It's more normal. It's more acceptable. So, someone like me in my circumstance had an opportunity to be just like my father, and be someone who is very angry, and chose to express that anger a lot of the times, and hurt a lot of my relationships. And I've really tried to work hard on not being that person, and really work on understanding where my anger comes from. My anger specifically comes from a couple places that, this is the thing about when you're trying to figure it out, is don't try to think too deep about it. Just keep it on the surface, and let those surface feelings come up, and let that be what you focus on for a minute. And when I just started to think about it, I think one of the things that really upsets me and my anger comes from is, I think when I was about 8 years old is when basically my parents let me know that they were going to be divorcing, and essentially, we're moving on in different ways. The house that we kind of were living in as a family was no longer going to be our home. And, for me at that age, was very, very hard to deal with. I remember being very angry at the time. I think we kind of move on based on that anger, but don't really realize, hey, that's where it was inflicted. I always saw the potential for my family to be a great family and to always stick together. And it really hurt me to know that two adults, two people who made a commitment to themselves but also to their children when they got together and had children, to make it work, to decide we don't have what it takes and other things are taking priority right now over our children and our family. That to me is how I took it, my perspective at the time, and still I guess kind of is. Now that I have my own family, I realize it's very, very selfish. I understand that there can be circumstances in a relationship that maybe it's better off, but I also believe, and I'm a firm believer, that if both parties really took some steps towards bettering themselves and their relationship, that it can be possible for, two people who are having troubles to work those troubles out, come to an understanding with each other, and continue to build and grow together, rather than say, hey, you know what, we're giving up. So a lot of my anger comes from there, from that moment. And then after that, because of the divorce, is I ended up having to leave the state and the town that I grew up in my whole life, and it was a big change for me to go to another state across the country and kind of start all over fresh again as a teenager at a teenage age. Made me really want to rebel, and that's what I did. And I spent a lot of years doing a lot of stupid things and making a lot of dumb choices, and having to suffer a lot of consequences during those times, and really do a lot of reflecting. And it's kind of springboarded me into really making that choice to say, you know what, this is definitely not the person I want to be. I want a happy life. And so again, I got through that phase of my life, and some good times, some bad times, like everybody, but we have to really decide for ourselves, are we trying to head down the wrong path, or are we really trying to head on the right path? And I think over and over again in my life, when I've come to that point of reflection, I've always chosen, I want to head down the right path. And what do I need to do to do that? So, it starts with reflection. It starts with thinking about your feelings. Why am I angry? Why am I so upset? There's going to be things that come up when you ask yourself that question. And it could be multiple things that come up. But what we need to do is look at one thing at a time. Because if we start looking at all the things, it's going to be very frustrating and say, yep, it's just a whole bunch of stuff I can't deal with. But you can deal with it if you deal with one thing at a time. So just like me there, where that big thing came up, I could sit here now, and instead of moving on and going on to the next thing, I can really dive into that moment and that feeling and replay that memory in my mind, how it made me feel at the time, but then also looking at it from the perspective that I'm in now and understanding it's okay. We all just needed a hug. We all just needed some love that wasn't there, but we can give it to ourselves now. Okay? We can begin to not be prisoners to ourselves based on our experiences. Okay? We literally sentence ourselves, and it's like we just keep pouring it on, and it's, we need to give ourselves a break. And we need to start doing some things that are giving ourselves a break, that are pushing ourselves in that direction of being able to have a break. We all have made mistakes. We all have done things that we're not happy about, that we're not proud about. But it doesn't mean that we can't move on from them and heal those things and feel better about them. None of us are given a playbook. Okay, we're all born into this world and are left to figure it out. So who's here to judge anybody else? Nobody. Okay? That's why nobody is here judging anybody else. We all think that there's going to be somebody coming or somebody's judging everybody else, but it's not the case. It's never been the case. We're just people living here. Okay? Do you have respect for your fellow human being or not? Do you have respect for the home that you live in, meaning the earth, or not? Do you have respect for the animals and the plants that share this world with you or not? You are the judge of yourself and your actions and your behaviors, and you are the only one that deserves any rewards or suffers any consequences based on those things. Okay? So we can start putting ourselves in the right place by letting go of that anger. So we've talked a little bit about anger. Let's finish off the conversation with how do we heal from it. Well, we've talked a little bit about it, how to start with that, but first of all, there's something within us that gives us the ability to be angry. There's something in there that's sitting in within us that kind of came in at some point in our life, whether it was when you were a child, whether it was recently, whether it's literally happening right now. There's something that is causing pain, okay? What we need to do is acknowledge what that thing is. We cannot be naive to that thing anymore. We cannot ignore that thing anymore. We have to acknowledge what it is. That's the first step. We need to forgive ourselves for that thing. And also forgive ourselves for feeling like for all these years or how much time that it's affected you that it wasn't okay that it did that, because it is. It is okay that you've cried. It is okay that you've gotten angry. We don't want to, like I said, we don't want to be a prisoner of those things anymore, but it's okay. You were meant to do those things. You were meant to cry. You were meant to get angry because that thing hurt you, okay? What we want to do is say, you know what? I don't want to spend any of more of my time letting this thing affect me, though. I do not want to spend another day crying about it. I don't want to spend another day being angry about it. Because we have bigger and better things to do. We have happiness to experience, don't we? And good memories to make. And if we're focusing and letting those things crush us every day, what good memories are we making? What good experiences are we having? So first step, acknowledge the pain. Okay. Forgive ourselves. Forgive the situation. Then we can ask ourselves this question. What can I do? Ask yourself that. Maybe just forgiving the situation yourself was enough. Again, it's all dependent on each person and what the level of, what you're dealing with, But a lot of times, it's much, much deeper than that. Because the pain is so deep, and it's affected so much, and so many of your choices and relationships over the years, that it's not just so much about, oh, I forgive you. We get that. That's number one, is forgive ourselves for it. But what can I do now? What can I do to take steps to heal that? It's positive. It's a positive mindset is what we need to have. It's a loving mindset. It's stepping out of it from a personal perspective, looking at your situation as if you were its mother, or its father, or its caretaker, and saying, what does this situation need to heal? It needs love. It needs a lot of honesty. It needs a lot of acknowledgement and acceptance. And if we have the opportunity to, take some action. Change the negative thing, or express the thought that you need to about that thing in a healthy way to release it, whether it's to an individual or just putting it out there and saying, you know what, I'm going to finally just open up about this thing, and this is what's been hurting me, but I'm okay. and I don't need to let it affect me anymore. And I have a life to live. And again, nobody's here gonna punish me other than myself. And that's only if I'm not being honest enough with myself, because then I'm the only one suffering and knowing I'm not really okay, am I? I'm just continuing to pretend until I can be fully honest about all of it. I'm never going to be able to move on. The thing about choices and experiences, especially when it comes to pain or anger, is that it can go two ways. We can be hurt by choices we made negatively that hurt others, right? We don't like to, but it's this thing, it's a human thing to, even though I'm the one that killed and stepped on the ant, I'm going to feel bad that I killed the ant, right? Why don't we put ourselves in the perspective of the ant? That's what really matters is, let's stop feeling sorry for ourselves for making the bad choice, and let's just do what we need to do to own up to that choice. So on one aspect, we're angry and upset about choices we've made. And on the other side, we're angry and upset about things that have been done to us that we deem unfair, or they weren't right. They don't sit well with us, like they weren't justified. And so what we need to do is be honest about all those things. Anything that has been done to you that you don't feel justified or fair about, that is eating at you, again, you need to forgive yourself for the situation. You're not the one condemning yourself. The other parties or the things are, and that's fine. They have their own things to work through, but you're not going to continue to condemn yourself because of the way other people are treating you or talking about you. Okay? And then when it comes to things that you've done, we need to acknowledge those things. Bring them up to the surface, not hide them and push them away anymore, and say, I hurt this person. Acknowledge that. And if you can, say sorry. Otherwise, what we need to do is we need to at least acknowledge it, put it out there, own up to it, let the life know, let the world know, let yourself know, hey, I'm owning up to this, finally, and I did do wrong here, and I'm sorry. And if there's anything I can do, please lead me in that direction. And guess what life's going to do? If there's anything you can do, it will lead you in that direction. Then it's up to you to make that happen and to take action and follow through with that. So these are the beginning steps into healing. I guess it's accepting and acknowledging and being honest and taking action if we can. A phrase that came up today in my life, again, as I was speaking with somebody, was the phrase positive affirmations. And all that means is, throughout your day, is being grateful and expressing that gratefulness, saying your thanks. I do this at the beginning of my day every day, and I do this at the end of my day every day, but also throughout my day, there's constant times where I am reflecting on how grateful I am for whatever situation I'm in, or whatever has been happening to me, or things that I can just thank you for this today. Things that I'm finding things to be grateful for. If we can focus on that and use our mind power and our heart power and our time to focus on what we're grateful for, that doesn't leave any room for us to be angry about things, because we're focusing on the things we're grateful for. A lot of the things in the past, especially things that happened to us, or even things that we've done, we can't change, right? We know that. We can't go back and change the action, okay? Or the words that were spoken. And that's what upsets us as human beings, because if we could all jump in a time machine and go fix all our problems, we'd all feel a lot more happier about that. But we can't, so we have to live with it, right? So what we need to do is accept that we can't change it. It's very, very hard to do that. What we need to do is understand it's all been part of your experience, It's all been a learning lesson and a growing lesson for whatever it's worth. Find the growth in it. Find the lesson in it. Find the teaching in it. Be grateful you're still alive through it. If we can learn from something, maybe it never has to happen again. Okay? So don't be upset that it happened. Of course, none of us are grateful that a negative thing happened to us. But let's not continue to be upset and hateful towards it. Let's be grateful that we're alive and we survived it. And let's say, what did I learn from it and how did I grow from it? That is it. That's the positive mindset, the positive affirmations. Do you see how we're changing our mindset from I'm going to wake up every day and think about how I'm angry and upset and express that to I'm really putting in work to being happy and grateful and turning things around, okay? This is all it is. It's a mindset change, okay? It's a rewiring of the mind. Our minds are not these static things that are what they are and they can never grow or change. No, they're constantly changing. Every time you learn something or see something, don't you incorporate that, right? Your mind is evolving. So if we can get off this negative mindset, a negative train of thought set, and move on to a positive thought set, we begin to literally manifest a change in our realities around us every day. So that's where you start, and that's how it works. That's why I do what I do every day. I'm positive. I spread positivity. I'm honest. I'm working on being honest in a more kinder way because I understand that it'd be like me understanding, and not to say it, I'm not going to get into mathematics, but just as an example, it'd be like me understanding that 2 + 2 = 4 and yelling that at you. 2 + 2 = 4, don't you get that? And making people feel bad if they don't get that. That's not the point. Okay, it's not the point to be angry that you understand something and someone else doesn't or can't. It's just to keep being helpful, keep being loving, keep being supportive, and keep just encouraging people, that's where I'm at, I'm really working hard on that. What student succeeds in a classroom where the teacher's continuously belittling them? They don't. What they need is support to say, hey, I got you and you got this and we'll figure it out together. Okay? So I'm here to figure it out with you, and I'm here to share my knowledge and wisdom and experiences with you so that we can all learn together. And that's what I'm doing here. And I hope this first installment of Brian's breakdown on anger and how we heal from it was awesome and you enjoyed listening to it. Thank you for sharing a drink and a smoke with me and some time with me. I really appreciate you. And I hope that you have a great rest of your evening. I hope you have something to think about. And I hope that you start making some positive changes in some areas of your life where you can. I know that we all have those areas, and, that's what we're doing here. We're trying to, be the best we can be. And, put ourselves on a clean slate as best as we can every day. Be the best we can. Be as positive as we can, and be as grateful as we can be as understanding and loving as we can be as caring as we can be. And I'll use a phrase that someone brought up recently, and I like it: be as compassionate as we can be. So, cheers to you. Have a good night. I love you. Thank you for taking the time with me. You got this. I got you. Let's keep rocking and rolling. If you have any questions or you want to talk, hit me up. We're going to get through this, guys. We're just continuing to grow. We're getting those wings. We're going to start flying soon, and all's going to be peachy. I love you. Have a great night.